A long-haul trucker disappeared without a trace in the summer of 1999, vanishing from the highways of the American Midwest as if swallowed by the asphalt itself. His rig, a bright blue Freightliner, was found abandoned days later at a rest stop near a sleepy town in Nebraska. Doors locked, engine cold, and personal belongings scattered inside, but no sign of him anywhere. The local authorities treated it as a missing person case, but with no leads and no witnesses, the trail quickly went cold. For 17 years, the mystery of what happened to David Carter, a seasoned truck driver known for his reliability and quiet nature, baffled law enforcement and haunted his family. No ransom notes, no signs of foul play, no confessions, just silence. Then, in the late summer of 2016, a small-town car wash owner made a discovery that would reignite the cold case, sending shockwaves through the community and forcing everyone to reconsider what they thought they knew about the disappearance. This is the story of the vanished trucker and the shocking revelation that would change everything. On July 15, 1999, David Carter, a 42-year-old trucker from Omaha, Nebraska, finished his delivery run in Kansas City. He was due to make the return trip to Omaha that evening, but he never showed up. David was respected in the trucking community, known for his careful driving and dedication to deadlines. He was a family man, married with 2 children, and his routine was steady and predictable. That made his disappearance all the more perplexing. Investigators pieced together the last known moments of his journey. Surveillance footage showed David parking at the Lincoln rest stop around midnight. He was seen walking into the rest area alone, but was never seen leaving. His truck was later found parked neatly, doors locked, personal effects inside including his wallet, cell phone, and even his favorite leather jacket. Yet, there was no sign of David himself. The rest stop, a place usually bustling with transient travelers, suddenly became the center of a chilling mystery. Police scoured the area but found no footprints, no tire marks aside from David's rig, no evidence of a struggle or forced entry. It was as if he had simply vanished into thin air. His family filed missing person reports immediately, but with no clues or suspects, the investigation soon stalled. Years passed with no new information, and the case faded from headlines. David's wife, Lisa, refused to give up hope, holding on to the belief that one day her husband would come home. Meanwhile, the trucking community whispered rumors. Some suggested David had gotten involved in something dangerous. Others believed he might have staged his disappearance. But none of these theories had evidence to support them. Life moved on, but the mystery remained unsolved. A ghost story whispered among long-haul drivers and small-town residents. In the summer of 2016, nearly 2 decades later, Tom Willis, owner of a modest car wash in a town just outside Lincoln, Nebraska, stumbled upon something unexpected while clearing debris near an old drainage ditch behind his property. What he found was a weathered, rusted piece of metal that looked oddly out of place, the corner of what appeared to be a license plate. Curious, Tom dug further and uncovered fragments of what looked like personal belongings, a worn-out leather glove, scraps of fabric, and a cracked cell phone screen. Unable to ignore the eerie familiarity, he contacted local police. When authorities arrived, forensic teams examined the site and quickly linked the items to David Carter's missing truck. This startling discovery reopened a case that had been dormant for 17 years. What was more shocking was the location, only a few miles from where David's truck had been abandoned, but in a place completely overlooked in the original search. The discovery ignited a renewed investigation, led by Detective Sarah Mitchell, a seasoned officer specializing in cold cases. Sarah approached the case with fresh eyes and a determination to uncover the truth that had eluded others for so long. She organized a new search operation around the drainage ditch and surrounding rural areas, using modern forensic technology and techniques that weren't available during the initial investigation. As the search progressed, new pieces of evidence began to surface. A partial shoe print was found near the ditch, along with traces of blood and fragments of fabric matching the glove Tom had found. These clues painted a grim picture. David hadn't simply disappeared. Something violent had likely occurred. The community was shaken. Questions filled the air. Who would want to harm David Carter? What had happened to him in those final hours? The family, now hardened by years of waiting, suddenly faced the terrifying reality that their beloved husband and father may have been the victim of foul play. Yet, despite the renewed efforts, no bodies or witnesses were found, deepening the mystery. Theories proliferated, some dark and unsettling. There were whispers of involvement by organized crime, given David's route along major drug trafficking corridors. Others speculated about a possible abduction or accident in the remote farmland, but all remained speculation. Through it all, Detective Mitchell remained focused, piecing together the fragments of David's last day. She interviewed truckers who had crossed paths with him, family members, and locals near the rest stop. Each new conversation revealed a man loved and respected, with no known enemies or reasons to disappear. But then, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Tom Willis, the car wash owner, mentioned that a few months before the disappearance, David had confided in him about a strange encounter on the road, a black SUV that had been following him for miles, the occupants refusing to identify themselves. David had brushed it off as paranoia, but Tom's recollection suggested something more sinister. This detail led Sarah to focus on surveillance footage from nearby highways and security cameras at truck stops. Analyzing hours of grainy video, investigators spotted the black SUV, a vehicle registered to a shell corporation with no identifiable owner. The vehicle appeared repeatedly along David's route in the days before his disappearance, always trailing, just out of sight. Suddenly, the case transformed from a simple missing person to a potential targeted disappearance. The implications terrified those close to David. Was he involved in something dangerous he hadn't shared? Or was he simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? With public interest renewed and pressure mounting, Sarah urged the community to come forward with any information. She reminded viewers that even the smallest detail could crack the case wide open. This is where you come in. Every click, every share, every subscription could help bring answers to families like David's who live in endless uncertainty. Don't let their pain go unnoticed. Subscribe now to stay updated and support the pursuit of truth. In the coming weeks, investigators expanded their search to abandoned buildings and remote farms near the area where the SUV had been spotted. Residents began recalling strange activity, unfamiliar faces, late-night gatherings, unmarked vehicles. It was as if a shadowy presence had been watching and waiting. Then, in early autumn, a local farmer found a hidden cache buried under a pile of hay in an old barn. Inside were personal items belonging to David Carter, a worn-out wallet, a faded photograph of his family, and a journal filled with cryptic notes about being followed and not trusting anyone. The discovery sent shockwaves through the investigation. The journal hinted at a growing fear and a secret David had kept silent. Who was he afraid of? What was he running from? As authorities examined the barn and surrounding area, forensic teams uncovered traces of blood and tire tracks that matched David's truck, confirming he had been there. But no signs of a struggle or fight could be definitively found, deepening the enigma. Detective Mitchell was now convinced the disappearance involved more than just a chance encounter. It was a chilling reminder of how vulnerable even the most ordinary lives can become when faced with unseen dangers. But amid this darkness, the story also became a call to action. It exposed the fragility of safety on the open road and the importance of vigilance. It was a plea to families everywhere to cherish every moment, to stay alert, and to demand justice for those who disappear without a trace. If you think you have information or just want to help ensure cases like David's aren't forgotten, subscribe now. Don't wait until it's too late. Your voice matters and could make the difference in solving mysteries that haunt entire communities. The investigation continues, and as new leads emerge, the hope remains alive that the truth about David Carter's disappearance will finally come to light. But it will take all of us, law enforcement, community members, and people like you, working together to break the silence. Subscribe and be part of this search for answers, because every lost person deserves to be found, every family deserves closure, and every story deserves to be told. David Carter's story sent ripples far beyond the quiet towns and highways he once traveled. As the investigation deepened, Detective Sarah Mitchell uncovered another critical lead that shifted the entire case in an unexpected direction. One of the last people to see David was a fellow trucker named Joe Hamilton, a grizzled veteran of the road with decades behind the wheel. Joe recalled that, on the day of David's disappearance, the two had stopped at a remote diner just off Interstate 80. There, David appeared anxious, looking over his shoulder as if expecting someone to follow him. He mentioned having problems with a guy but refused to elaborate. This cryptic remark led Sarah to interview more of David's acquaintances in the trucking world. Many spoke of a shadowy figure known only as the Handler, a mysterious individual rumored to manage an underground network controlling illicit shipments along the highways. The Handler was whispered about in hushed tones, a man who kept tabs on those who didn't play by his rules. The possibility that David had unwittingly crossed paths with such a figure added a chilling layer to the case. Was David involved in something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined? As Sarah dug deeper, surveillance footage from a truck stop in Council Bluffs, Iowa, surfaced. It showed David meeting with a man whose face was always obscured by a baseball cap, their conversation brief but intense. The man handed David a small envelope, the contents of which remained unknown. Investigators speculated this might have been the moment when David's fate took a turn for the worse. Meanwhile, Tom Willis, the car wash owner whose discovery reignited the investigation, kept a close eye on the developments. He often wondered if he'd stumbled upon something far bigger than a missing trucker. His humble life in the small town was now tangled with secrets and dangers he never expected. Yet, for all the fear and unanswered questions, a sense of determination grew among those involved. The case had gone from a cold file to a living, breathing hunt for truth. But as the months passed, strange things began to happen around Tom's car wash. Unmarked vehicles lingered nearby late at night, and unfamiliar faces watched from shadows. Friends warned him to be cautious, but he refused to back down. "People need to know what happened," he said. "If I can help bring David home, I'll do whatever it takes." It was a brave stance, but it came with consequences. One evening, Tom found his office ransacked, files missing, and his phone mysteriously wiped clean. Someone was trying to silence him. Yet this only fueled the fire. The message was clear. Some didn't want the truth to come out. Sarah Mitchell, undeterred, worked with federal agents to track down the origins of the black SUV. Their investigation revealed it was linked to a defunct company tied to organized crime syndicates known to operate smuggling routes through the Midwest. This revelation connected the dots between the shadowy Handler and the ominous vehicle trailing David. The case now had a sinister heartbeat, but with mounting pressure, some witnesses who had stayed silent for years began to speak. A former employee of a local trucking company came forward with shocking testimony. He had overheard conversations about a shipment gone wrong and threats made against David for asking too many questions. These fragments of information painted a picture of a man caught in a deadly web of secrecy and deceit. The public's interest in the case surged. News outlets ran special reports, families of other missing truckers reached out, and support groups formed. The tragedy that had seemed isolated now felt like a warning to all who travel the lonely highways. It was a stark reminder of how quickly life can unravel and how important it is to watch out for one another. But amid the chaos, there was still hope. Hope that justice would come, that answers would be found, and that David Carter's family might finally have peace. And this is why you need to be part of the story. Don't let apathy allow darkness to win. Your subscription and support are vital. They keep these stories alive and help shine a light into the shadows where too many disappear. If you care about justice, about truth, about families waiting in agony, subscribe now. Don't hesitate, because every moment lost could be a moment closer to losing the truth forever. As the investigation pressed on, forensic breakthroughs provided new clues. Advances in DNA technology allowed teams to analyze trace evidence found near the drainage ditch and barn, uncovering genetic material that could belong to David or someone connected to his disappearance. But even with these tools, the case remained a puzzle. A breakthrough came when Tom received an anonymous letter, mailed from an untraceable location. Inside was a faded photograph of David standing beside a rusted truck, along with a cryptic message: "Some secrets don't want to be found." The chilling note reminded everyone involved that the stakes were high and the danger real. Detectives had to tread carefully. Meanwhile, the family continued to fight for answers, holding vigils and pushing authorities to keep the case alive. Their resilience became a beacon of hope, inspiring others to come forward with any scrap of information. Every lead mattered. In the months that followed, Sarah Mitchell coordinated with experts in cyber investigations, tracking digital footprints and phone records in an attempt to reconstruct David's last days. The black SUV's movements were mapped, revealing it circled key locations multiple times, suggesting surveillance rather than random travel. But who was watching, and why? The atmosphere grew tense as the investigation unearthed more shadows. Local residents started recalling strange noises and unexplained lights near abandoned warehouses along David's route. There was talk of illegal dealings and cover-ups, but proof remained elusive. As the pressure mounted, Sarah made a public appeal for anyone with knowledge, no matter how small, to step forward. "Every piece of the puzzle counts," she urged. "Your silence could be the last barrier to the truth." This was not just about David Carter. It was about countless others lost in the shadows, victims of secrets too dangerous to speak aloud. It was a call to action, a plea for justice, and a reminder that communities are strongest when they stand together. If you've made it this far, then you understand the importance of vigilance and solidarity. Subscribing isn't just about watching a story unfold. It's about being part of the fight against silence and disappearance. Don't turn away. Don't let fear stop you from standing with those who need you most. Subscribe now and be the difference between mystery and resolution. The story of David Carter continues to unravel, each revelation pulling back the curtain on a darker side of the highways we think we know. But it is also a story of courage, of those who refuse to let disappearances be forgotten, and who fight tirelessly for answers in the face of danger. Together, we can honor the memory of those lost and demand accountability from the shadows. This case will not be closed until the truth is brought into the light. David Carter's disappearance had already gripped the region, but the deeper the investigation went, the more it exposed the hidden dangers lurking beneath the surface of America's highways. As Detective Sarah Mitchell pushed forward, she uncovered a network of unsolved disappearances, strange accidents, and suspicious activity along the same freight routes David traveled. It became clear that David's case was not isolated, but part of a much larger and darker pattern. Truckers, long-haul drivers, and travelers alike shared stories of mysterious vehicles tailing them, unexplained roadblocks, and sudden detours that seemed orchestrated rather than accidental. Some vanished without a trace, while others returned with haunting tales of threats and near misses. The highway had become a labyrinth of danger. Sarah's team began collaborating with federal agencies, pooling resources to connect the dots between these incidents. New evidence surfaced: coded messages found in driver logs, encrypted communications intercepted by law enforcement, and testimonies from informants within underground smuggling rings. David Carter had apparently stumbled into something far beyond a routine delivery run, a clandestine operation with reach across state lines and deep into the criminal underworld. Yet, despite this mounting evidence, the challenge remained immense. The perpetrators were careful, ruthless, and always one step ahead. Sarah knew that to solve the case, she had to outthink and outmaneuver them. The investigation shifted to a digital battlefield. Cybersecurity experts traced financial transactions linked to the black SUV's shell corporation, uncovering money laundering schemes funneling cash through seemingly legitimate businesses. This trail led to corrupt officials and shadowy figures who thrived in the gray areas of power. Meanwhile, the pressure on Tom Willis intensified. His car wash became a hub for whispers and rumors, attracting unwanted attention. One night, his property was vandalized, sending a clear warning to back off. But Tom's resolve only grew stronger. He organized community meetings, urging neighbors to watch for suspicious activity and share anything unusual. His bravery inspired others to come forward, breaking the silence that had long shrouded the region. Sarah leveraged this community engagement to widen her search. Volunteers scoured abandoned warehouses, empty lots, and forgotten backroads. Each tip was followed, each lead pursued, no matter how small. Slowly, fragments of the puzzle began to fit together. Then, in a breakthrough moment, forensic teams discovered a hidden compartment in an abandoned trailer off Route 77. Inside were items linked to David Carter: his watch, a dog tag with his initials, and a torn piece of his jacket. More chillingly, they found documents referencing coded shipments and dates aligning suspiciously with David's last known route. The evidence suggested he had been involved, willingly or not, in smuggling operations that had gone awry. The revelation shocked the public and intensified media coverage. Questions flooded in. Was David a victim, a witness, or something more? The lines between truth and speculation blurred as new narratives emerged. Sarah remained cautious, focusing on facts rather than rumors. She convened a task force to analyze the connections between the smuggling network and David's disappearance, emphasizing the need for a coordinated response across jurisdictions. The investigation's complexity highlighted systemic vulnerabilities, how easily ordinary lives could be caught in the crossfire of criminal enterprises hidden in plain sight. But amid the chaos, the human toll was never forgotten. David's family, worn but unyielding, became symbols of perseverance. They spoke openly about the pain of uncertainty and the need for justice, reminding everyone that behind every case were real people, real losses. As the case drew wider attention, it became a catalyst for change. Lawmakers proposed new measures to protect truckers and improve highway safety. Advocacy groups pushed for better support systems for families of the missing, and communities united to create networks of vigilance and care. Through it all, Sarah Mitchell's message was clear. We cannot let these stories fade into silence. Every disappearance matters. Every family deserves answers. And this message extends to you, the viewer. Your involvement can make a difference. By subscribing and sharing these stories, you help break the cycle of invisibility that surrounds so many cold cases. You join a movement demanding accountability and compassion. Don't let fear keep you from acting. The power to change the narrative is in your hands. Subscribe now and be a guardian of truth and justice. As the investigation continued, new witnesses emerged. One was a former driver who recounted an encounter with a convoy of unmarked trucks late at night near a secluded border crossing. He described seeing figures moving stealthily, crates being loaded, and unusual radio chatter. Though he was too frightened to report it at the time, his testimony gave Sarah's team valuable insight into the smuggling routes potentially connected to David's fate. Further inquiries led to the arrest of a low-level operative involved in transporting illegal goods. Under pressure, he revealed limited details about the handler and the organization's efforts to control the corridors David had traversed. But crucially, he mentioned a failed shipment around the time of David's disappearance, suggesting that David might have been a witness or even an unintended obstacle. These revelations opened new avenues of inquiry. Sarah coordinated with interstate agencies to monitor known smuggling paths, intercept shipments, and protect vulnerable drivers. The stakes were higher than ever, yet the danger was real. Attempts were made to intimidate witnesses, erase evidence, and derail the investigation. Sarah's team worked tirelessly to outmaneuver these threats, knowing that the truth was worth the risk. The story of David Carter, once a quiet tale of a missing trucker, had evolved into a gripping saga of courage, corruption, and the relentless pursuit of justice. It served as a stark reminder that behind every statistic is a life interrupted, a family left waiting, and a community searching for answers. Don't let this story fade into obscurity. Be part of the solution. Subscribe now to ensure voices like David's are heard, to support investigations that bring light to darkness, and to stand with families who refuse to be forgotten. The road to truth is long and fraught with peril, but together we can travel it. Every subscription, is a step toward justice. Don't wait until it's too late. Subscribe today. The investigation into David Carter's disappearance took an even more ominous turn as Sarah Mitchell uncovered unsettling connections between the smuggling network and local law enforcement. Corruption within the ranks complicated her efforts, with some officers potentially complicit in covering up illegal activities. Internal Affairs began reviewing several cases, but the shadow of doubt cast a pall over the entire region. Meanwhile, Tom Willis continued to face threats. His home was broken into, documents were stolen, and he found himself followed on more than one occasion. Yet his resolve remained unshaken. The community rallied around him, providing support and protection, knowing that his courage had reignited hope where once there was none. The discovery of David's belongings in the abandoned trailer had opened a Pandora's box, leading to the uncovering of a larger trafficking operation that spanned multiple states. Sarah coordinated raids and arrests, disrupting parts of the network, but the leadership remained elusive. The handler, the mysterious figure so often whispered about, seemed to vanish just as the net tightened. As the investigation unfolded, a surprising breakthrough came from an unexpected source, an elderly man named Frank Donovan, who lived near one of the remote routes David had traveled. Frank had been a trucker himself in his younger days, and had noticed suspicious activity over the years but never reported it. After seeing Tom's public appeals and Sarah's media announcements, Frank contacted the police with information about a hidden cache of vehicles and equipment used by the smuggling ring. Acting on Frank's tip, investigators uncovered a clandestine compound deep in the woods, filled with stolen cargo, falsified documents, and evidence linking several missing persons cases. Among the items was a diary belonging to one of the network's operatives, detailing transactions, routes, and warnings about those who crossed them. The diary referenced a package that had gone missing around the time David vanished, hinting that David might have inadvertently been caught in a deal gone wrong. As the pieces fell into place, it became evident that David's fate was tied to forces far beyond his control. His disappearance was not a random event, but the result of a dangerous game played by powerful players in the shadows. Throughout the ordeal, David's family remained a source of inspiration. They refused to let grief consume them and instead channeled their pain into advocacy, pushing for better protections for truckers and greater transparency from authorities. Their story became a beacon for others facing similar uncertainty. Yet, with all the progress, questions lingered. Who exactly was the handler? Was he still at large? And what had truly happened to David Carter in those final days? The answers remained elusive, fueling speculation and driving the investigation onward. This story is a reminder that behind every disappearance lies a complex web of human emotions, choices, and consequences. It is a call to vigilance, a plea not to ignore the signs, to question the quiet absences, and to stand firm in the pursuit of truth. Your role in this story is vital. By subscribing, you ensure that voices silenced by fear and danger are amplified, that cold cases are kept alive, and that families receive the justice they deserve. Don't let this be another story forgotten by time. Subscribe now and join the fight against injustice. Every click, every share, every voice counts. As the investigation continues, new evidence has emerged that could finally bring closure. Forensic analysis of materials found at the compound has linked key suspects to the black SUV that had been following David. Surveillance footage obtained from traffic cameras shows shadowy figures meeting late at night near the same locations mentioned in the diary. These developments have prompted renewed efforts to bring those responsible to justice. Sarah and her team are coordinating with federal prosecutors to build a case that could dismantle the remaining parts of the smuggling ring. The stakes are higher than ever, and the public's attention is crucial to maintaining momentum. Meanwhile, Tom Willis's car wash has transformed into a symbol of resilience and hope. It serves as a gathering place for families affected by disappearances, a center for awareness campaigns, and a testament to the power of ordinary people to challenge extraordinary darkness. The story of David Carter is more than a missing persons case. It's a battle for truth, justice, and the dignity of those lost along America's forgotten highways. Don't let this story fade away. Be part of the movement that demands answers and refuses to accept silence. David Carter's disappearance remains one of the most haunting mysteries tied to America's vast highway system, a chilling reminder of how quickly an ordinary life can vanish into the shadows. Even as law enforcement dismantled significant portions of the smuggling ring and arrested several key players, the truth about what ultimately happened to David remains elusive. His family continues to hold on to hope, driven by memories and unanswered questions that have stretched across decades. Detective Sarah Mitchell reflects on the long and arduous investigation, the frustration of bureaucratic delays, the courage of witnesses who finally spoke out, and the unbreakable spirit of communities refusing to let silence take hold. Tom Willis's unwavering determination has shown that one person's resolve can reignite a case long thought cold, shining a light where darkness seemed impenetrable. This story underscores the hidden dangers lurking beneath the everyday, the highways we travel, the places we pass without a second thought, and the lives caught in webs of secrecy and crime. David's case has sparked broader awareness of the risks faced by truckers and travelers, prompting new safety protocols, better communication tools, and increased community vigilance along key routes. Awareness campaigns now educate drivers about the potential threats they may face and encourage them to report suspicious activity immediately. Neighborhood watch programs and volunteer patrols have been established in towns along freight corridors, transforming ordinary citizens into guardians of safety. Yet despite these strides, the road to full justice remains long and uncertain. The scars left on David's family, friends, and the community run deep. Their grief is tempered by resilience, a determination to turn tragedy into action, to ensure no one else falls victim to the shadows that claimed David. His legacy goes beyond the search for answers. It is a testament to human courage, the power of community, and the unyielding quest for truth, even in the darkest of places. This is why your involvement matters more than ever. By subscribing and sharing these stories, you become part of a movement that refuses to let missing persons cases be forgotten or ignored.